Right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nathan Bleckel, email marketing coordinator here at Direct Travel. You are on the maiden voyage with me on this beautiful virtual event. First of all, good evening. Thank you for joining us today for the Oceania Cruises private sale virtual event. We're thrilled to have you here as we dive into the incredible offers and exclusive experiences that Oceania Cruises has prepared just for you. Whether you're dreaming of exploring the Mediterranean, the breathtaking landscapes of Alaska, or the vibrant cultures of Asia, today you'll discover how Oceania Cruises can turn those dreams into reality. At Direct Travel, we pride ourselves on being true partners with Oceania Cruises, one of our top cruise lines. Oceania Cruises consistently delivers a beautiful cruising experience with unmatched elegance, exceptional service, and unforgettable destinations. Now, without further ado, it is my great pleasure to introduce our esteemed guest, Kathy Denroach. Kathy is the Director of Sales for Oceania Cruises and brings with her a wealth of knowledge and passion for extraordinary travel experiences. So, please join me in welcoming Kathy Denroach. And to kick tonight's event off, we're going to start the session with a poll. Have you sailed with Oceania before? You'll see that on your screen, and the floor is Kathy's.
Oh, that's so nice, Nathan. Thank you. You have a beautiful radio voice. You should be in radio. So I'm just going to answer my little poll. I have been on Oceania Cruises, so thank you for, having us here. But I was just going to say, everybody, thank you so much for taking the time to come tonight. And I have to say, I've been around in the cruise industry here in Canada for almost 47 years now. I started out with the Love Boat when it was a tiny, tiny little ship that movie stars sailed on and everything like that. But I have to say back then there were maybe 5 cruise lines altogether back 47 years ago. And now when I look at the industry, all these years later, there's over 50 cruise lines and over 300 ships to choose from. And people quite often ask me, what is it about Oceania that you really love? And I go, I'm going to tell you all about that tonight. But they also say, what's your favorite cruise line? What's your favorite experience? And I do want to say that, with that, I always tell people it's what you're in the mood for, because sometimes we're in the mood for a tiny little river cruise. Sometimes we're in the mood for a big ship and go on with the huge entertainment and take our families. And sometimes you're in the mood to just take it down a little bit of a notch and go on a smaller ship and go on some pretty amazing, unique itineraries. And that is Oceania Cruises. And I want to tell you about it today. So, when I think about Oceania, I think about 3 things that we sit with. It's the hearth of our company. It's our cornerstone. And that is, I think probably the biggest reason anyone would ever come on Oceania is because of our travel experiences. Our curated itineraries are so amazing. Do you know, many years, I've been with Oceania 15 years, but for 18 years before that, I was with a company called Crystal Cruises, right up in the 6-star luxury market. And I would watch Oceania when they came out 23 years ago and think, wow, their itineraries are so incredibly beautiful. See, the thing is, we had small ships then. And so at that stage, we could take ships into ports that other ships couldn't get into. So that created this incredible variety of itineraries that we could use with small ships. And I think to this day, we're still leaders in the beautiful itinerary planning that we have. In fact, we take a lot of time during the year to really look at places we've never been that we want to go. And I'm going to tell you about some of those beautiful itineraries. And the second part of having a small ship experience is when Oceania started, they said, we're going to do things really differently. We're going to be the kind of cruise line that, number one, has beautiful itineraries. We're going to do it on small ships, so we're going to keep small, but we're going to do things a little bit differently. We were the first cruise line that said, we're not going to have 2 seatings. We're going to have open seating between 6 and 9 o'clock at night. We're going to have all kind of alternative restaurant choices. We weren't going to charge for those because we include the things that are really important to travelers. So when I look at Oceania and I think about our dining experiences and the fact that we're the cruise line for foodies, this third pillar we stand on, it's one of the great things about Oceania. It's not about cream and butter and all those kind of things. It's about the choices as a traveler and the fact that we cook it a la minute. It means it's cooked for you right at that moment. So here we have these 3 pillars. We did things differently by saying we're going to not charge for things that are important to people. We're going to take it to, we're not going to have two seatings, we're going to have open seating. And some of the restaurants on board the ship require reservations, but we still don't charge you for that. We're not going to charge for coffee, tea, lattes, London fogs, anything like that. We're not going to charge for internet. We have Starlink on all our ships. We're not going to have kids programs, but yet we'll have kids on board the ship, but they're literally a guest on our ship like anybody else. And we thought at the time, when we were taking you into some of these ports, that we're not going to charge for shuttle services in and out of cities. These were going to be places that we didn't want to nickel and dime anybody. We said we're going to offer shore excursions. And by the way, we have almost 8,000 shore excursions to offer you on all of our itineraries. But not only that, there's a lot of our guests who say, I don't want shore excursions. I might want to take a private car and driver, or I might just want to walk in one of these cities, take a shuttle into the center of the city and go have lunch somewhere and watch people go by. So that's the kind of thing that Oceania is. But those are the kinds of things I'm going to talk to you about tonight, because we're truly this amazing cruise line. But do you know what I love about Oceania the most is the fact that you can explore the world without crowds. When we plan our itineraries, everybody, we plan them so we almost are the only ship in port that day. That's how we try and kind of organize each port that we go into. And I think I love that. And not only that, cities around the world these days are changing. Like Dubrovnik, for instance, is saying that we will not allow more than two ships in our city at one time. There's cities all over the world doing that kind of stuff. And yet there's cities like Venice who have now Trieste as a port, who have the big port of Venice, but we still have one of our small little ships, the Nautica and the Sirena, who come into the port of Venice itself through the Grand Canal. So it's kind of nice. But when I talk about exploring without crowds, I mean the fact that now when you come into these cities, and what you're going to start seeing, by the way, in the trends, is that cruise lines are going to extend their stay within Europe and places like that all the way through the winter. And that, I think, is a trend that's going to come. I was in the Mediterranean in December on one of our ships on the Riviera for 20 days as a vacation. And I have to say, it was so wonderful exploring without any crowds. It was fantastic. So the weather was a little bit colder, but the fact is there's so many ways to explore with Oceania. But the nice thing, whether you're on land or whether you're on the ship, there's no crowds, there's no lineups. It's not about stuffiness. It's not about formality. It's not about expense. It's about fewer people on a ship with a lot more staff looking after you, what we call attention to detail. So what I love about it for me, and now that I'm in my late 60s, and that's kind of our demographic from anywhere from kind of 55 to 90, but the age doesn't matter on Oceania at all. It's what you're in the mood for. But the one thing that really stands out for me as a guest or as an employee of Oceania is that when we talk about life on board a ship of ours, it's quiet. There's no announcements other than embarkation and debarkation. It's quiet when we come up to this pool. This is the new Vista. And if you can imagine around 4:30 or 5 o'clock, where people are sitting out having a nice cocktail around the pool, and there's a beautiful jazz quartet kind of doing beautiful soft music. We have music before dinner, at lunchtime, at afternoon tea, and it's this beautiful string quartet that we have. We have a jazz orchestra. We have all sorts of things. We have entertainment every night, but we are more of an edutainment kind of cruise line. We're small and we're mighty and we're comfortable, but we actually really excel when it comes to education on board the ships. But it's beautiful. And as we're a very port intensive cruise line, meaning that we literally on a 12-day cruise usually have 1 day at sea, it means that you as a guest can come back to the ship and it's your sanctuary at sea, and it's wonderful. So I love the fact it's a little bit quieter. I took this picture. I didn't take this picture, but one of our guests took the picture that had debarked in the ship in Greece this last November. And they took this picture and sent it to me, and I absolutely love it. This is the Riviera, and she's just sailing right through the Mediterranean as we left Greece. And I thought it's such a beautiful shot of a ship just being on her own and wandering through the Mediterranean. And one morning I was heading for breakfast in our terrace cafe, and I'm going to show you some of the shots of that, is the fact that you could just walk on deck, and right on this rounded area near the stack is our, what we call our baristas. That's our coffee, that's our hub of the ship in the morning. So everyone comes in and has cappuccinos and lattes and whatever, and you can have that in any restaurant you want to as well. But I thought the really great differential between us and larger ships is the fact that when you come out on deck now, you don't have to put your bathrobe or your book or your shoes or anything down to hold your seat, because with Oceania, there's enough guests on our ship and there's so much space. So we have 8 ships in our fleet starting next year. We have 7 right now currently sailing. But with that, I'm going to tell you about our ships. We have 4 small, tiny ships. They're 30,000 tons. Doesn't mean a whole lot to you unless you've sailed a lot, but it means that 3 of our ships could get into, could fit into any one of the big ships that you're used to seeing, and whether it's sailing yourself or in TV ads or anything. So we're 674 guests, and it's pretty amazing. On the Oceania class, which is just so beautiful. This is when I started with Oceania 15 years ago. We were building a ship called the Marina and the Riviera. They were 1,200 guests. They were twice the size of the small ships, but they were still considered small in our industry and still are today. And that was with 800 staff member looking after 1,200 guests. So it was pretty fantastic. And then, of course, our new Vista came out this last year in May, and we've got the Allura coming out next July, which we're also excited for. So we have 8 ships in our fleet, and we go all over the world. But the one thing about it is that every ship has an Oceania feel to it. So when people, our guests, come on board, no matter what ship you're on, you go, oh, this is an Oceania ship. And everybody's friendly and everybody's like a family on board. It's a wonderful experience. Your staterooms are appointed with some of the most beautiful amenities. First of all, we have our prestige tranquility beds, and everybody, no matter who has sailed on Oceania, loves our beds. So they're absolutely gorgeous. They've got these chamomile feather tops, and then you've got fretty sheets and linens, and you've got gorgeous headboards and pillows and little mohair blankets or cotton blankets, whatever you choose. You've got 6 different kinds of pillows on your bed. You've got fresh flowers in your room, a refrigerator, binoculars, umbrellas, all the kinds of things that you really need when you're using your stateroom as a sanctuary. And most of our ships are 90% verandas. Our smaller ships have got a lot of inside and outside staterooms, but at least 60 to 70% of those 4 little small ships are private verandas. So it's really nice to be able to sit out and just hang out on your chaise, or have room service out with white tablecloth service, course by course, as you're sitting there, if you don't feel like going into one of our many restaurants. So on our small ships, we have 4 tiny little restaurants. On the Oceania class, the Marina and Riviera, we have 6. And then on the Vista and the Allura, we have over 10 restaurants to choose from. And while we don't charge for any of these restaurants, we require reservations in a lot of them. But we make sure that every one of our guests has that chance to go in and have this beautiful meal. So as I was saying, everything becomes this beautiful, peaceful tranquility while you're sailing and having this vacation of a lifetime. Well, fitness is really big for Oceania as well. So we offer Pilates, yoga, lots of different kinds of classes, all complimentary. The only time we charge you is if you have a private trainer for an hour or 2 on your own. But otherwise, there's classes and the gyms are open. Even our facilities are as large as some of the largest ships afloat, because fitness is really important to our guests. So we always have a fitness center that's open to you and complimentary to use. Well, I talked about us being the foodie cruise line. And so when I talk about our exquisitely crafted cuisine, it truly is magnificent. We truly are the cruise line for foodies. We, above all luxury lines and all premium lines, Oceania is the foodie of the industry. And I think part of that is that it's a la minute cooking. So it means that when you order that piece of halibut or branzino, or you order your grilled chop or whatever it is that you're having on the ship, it's cooked for you at that very moment you order it. So it's personal, it's not pre-prepared all day long. So one of the great things about the Riviera and the Marina just as an example, 1,200 guests are sailing with us. 800 staff members are looking after you. 400 of those 800 staff members are dedicated to our galley. So it's like that across our brand. Everything is so fresh. We have 250 vegan items on the ship that you can choose from. We've always had special dietary needs, vegetarian, food, everything like that. But now we've even added vegan to plant-based meals to our, menu, and it's wonderful the choices you have as a guest. And every cruise, we do a chef's market dinner. So we have a lot of different restaurants, as I was explaining, but up on the Terrace Cafe, this is our beautiful open cafe for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And it's fresh lobster tails or, grilled lamb chops or whatever you want, up there. And you come outside and someone takes your tray. It's a non-touch service on Oceania, so you can't touch a spoon or fork or anything in a buffet or anywhere. Someone will deliver it to you to your table, and you go course by course, and it is so fantastic. So everywhere we go, we do a regional dinner. So if we're in Italy, we talk about the history of tomatoes, how they came to Italy. If we're in, Asia, we talk about some of the, different kinds of noodles, some of the different cuisines of that region, and we have a chef's market dinner to highlight that. It's not just one night, it's 2 nights of every cruise. So if you're in a restaurant one night and you go, oh, it's a chef's dinner, really want to go to that, you can always go the second night. And with Oceania, because we're the foodie cruise line, we also work with Wine Spectator on board the ship. You can bring your wine on board the ship. We don't hold it at the gangway or anything like that. We are foodies. We're also wine lovers. And so we do wine tasting, scotch tasting, sake tastings, all sorts of things. We have a mixologist on board with lunch and dinner as part of Oceania's offer to you always on every cruise. We call it Simply More. You have your champagne, wine, and your beers at lunch and dinner. So over 33 different kinds of wines to choose from, 12 craft beers, mocktails, French champagne, sparkling wines, Prosecco, things like that. So it's really a wonderful feeling that you have on board the ship. And this is just a shot of our Terrace Cafe on one of our smaller ships. I love this because if you're coming out for breakfast or for dinner, and the dinners always have white tablecloths, and it's wonderful. You come out here, someone brings what you've ordered to your table, and you're just watching the world go by, and it's pretty fantastic. So it's relaxed, and I think that's one of the nice things. We're also a cruise line that started the luxury casual kind of affair. Many years ago, we said we're going to get rid of formal wear. People don't want to wear that anymore. Our guests want to be dressed nicely, but they don't necessarily need jackets and ties. They don't want to have high heels and long dresses anymore. So we have what we call our casual elegance, our country club style, affair on the ship, and it's wonderful. So it's a beautifully dressed crowd, but really casual. And that's partly because we're so port intensive on the ship. Well, what I mentioned at the beginning, everyone, was the fact that the number one reason anyone comes over to Oceania is because of our travel experiences. We are amazing when it comes to, our itinerary planning. We are true architects of the world when it comes to these beautiful itineraries that we offer you. So as an example, when I look at this, at this beautiful map of the world, I think about Oceania's itineraries. Not only are they just 12 days or 7 days, not very many of them, but they go up to 180 days around the world. But every year we might have one cruise that we do that's just a one-shot cruise. As is an example, around Australia, 34 days, always in December. It's a hard cruise to do because of winds and tides, but we circumnavigate that continent right around in December for 34 days. We do the west coast of Africa. We also do the east coast of Africa. So when someone says, gee, Kathy, I've been there and done it, I go, I don't know if you've done the west coast of Africa. It's pretty amazing going to Cape Verde and Tristan da Cunha and Namibia and all that kind of stuff. We go right up to the top of Svalbard, that little gray blob at the top of your screen there. And we actually take you into the North Cape, and that might be 1 or 2 sailings a year. We do Norway and the Norwegian fjords. We do Greenland. We do Iceland. We do Western Europe. We do British Isles. We do all sorts of things from April all the way to November, and early in December, we're in Europe, and we kind of sift our way down to the holiest of lands. Now, we're not going to obviously be doing the Holy Land for this next year as well, but we have some really, really beautiful itineraries we'd love you to look at. We do South Pacific, we do Tahiti, we do Southeast Asia, we do Japan. I'm going to tell you about some of these things. We go right around South America. We have Amazon cruises. When we do a Panama Canal, and I talk about our unique itineraries, things like, Lima, Peru, all the way from Lima up through Ecuador and through the canal into Miami. That's one of our canal cruises. It's not just Los Angeles to Miami or San Francisco to Miami, but they're really beautiful itineraries that are 18 and 20 days. We do the Antarctic, but we don't take you off the ship there, but we have 4 beautiful lecturers who come on board, and they talk about the history and ideology and all the things that are happening in the Antarctic. Perfect for guests who don't want to do zodiac cruising. We do Canada, New England, and we do a bit of Alaska, and we do Bermuda. So we go all over the world with these 7 and almost 8 ships now, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. So I thought I'd just take you on a couple of itineraries, since we kind of have an immersive planning from 7 days to 180 days right around the world. But everywhere we go, we make sure that we're in that peak season with hardly any crowds and really kind of having the areas to ourselves. And that's a real speciality of Oceania cruises. So when I talk about Australia, I talk about the whole South Pacific, actually. We have all sorts of itineraries. I'm just going to show you a couple of highlights around the world. But this is a beautiful sailing that always sells very well out of Canada. This is a sailing always done in January, whether it's 25 or 2026, Auckland to Sydney or Sydney to Auckland, 14 days. And with Oceania, we include your air from Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal. Out of Victoria, Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, we charge 249 Canadian dollars. And we take you on the most nonstop direct flight from your city all the way to Auckland and home from Sydney. Now, with Oceania, we have this flexibility of 3 days on either side. So I always say, take the 3 days, go 2 days early so you can make sure you get there, number one, with the air situation these days, and number two, so you acclimatize yourself to that time zone. But this is a beautiful itinerary because not only you're seeing New Zealand, but you're coming through Milford Sound, which is one of the most beautiful fjords in the world, and all the way over to Hobart in Tasmania and up to Melbourne and then into Sydney. And our itineraries are planned so you can take them back to back to back. So there would be a cruise right after this from Sydney into either other areas of the South Pacific or up to Southeast Asia, depending on where we're going. So just a beautiful itinerary. Here's that cruise I was telling you that goes right around Australia, 34 days, December this year, but we also have it in 2025 and we will have it in 2026. We do once a year. We take you right around the whole continent, and it is absolutely out of this world fantastic. Tahiti is one of our very top rated cruises, everybody. You think of very small ships there, and we take one of our little tiny ships in the Regatta that has the 680 guests, and we take you again, flying you to Papeete, and we take you for 10, 12, 14 days along that beautiful part of French Polynesia. Now, Tahiti and French Polynesia is literally 2.5 million square kilometers of France sitting right under Honolulu. So I always say, yes, it's a longer flight. It's about 2.5 hours past Honolulu, but it's literally a movie or maybe 2 more cocktails. So whatever you like, it's wonderful to be able to go there. And of course, we have our air arranged for you down to Tahiti and back. So it's one, and you can extend, by the way, and your direct travel guru there, your virtuoso advisor is going to be able to tell you whether you might want to extend your stay, maybe in Moorea, and go and sit on a balcony that's literally an overwater bungalow, or you might want to extend your stay 2 to 3 weeks. So that's all up to you, and there's so many options. So we take you all through the South Pacific, and then we come up through Southeast Asia. We do Cambodia, Vietnam, we do the Philippines. We are going into beautiful areas of Southeast Asia. But one of the most popular sailings we have right now is a round trip out of Japan. And that is out of Tokyo for 12 days. It's April of 2025. This has been every area over the years becomes very cyclical to us. And so Japan is on the rise right now, and everyone wants to see Japan. So it's very portent tenses that I'm showing you here. But this is April 13th of 2025. What I want to show you is what we do when we extend a cruise to 32 days. So here's the cruise on April 13th from Tokyo round trip. And then we take you all the way over to Alaska. And guess what? We end up in Vancouver. So as a Canadian, whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast, it's pretty cool to land back in a Canadian city, and it's 32 days. Now, some of you may go, oh, I could never do 32 days. But if you've done 7 days, you can do 12. If you've done 12 days, it's easy to do 18. If you've done 18 days, you can easily do 30. And if you've done 30 days, you can do 60 to 80 to 180 days around the world. It all depends on you. But it's amazing with port intensive itineraries how fast that time flies by. And it's so wonderful to make this your home for that long. So then we kind of come around to South America. I think South America has got so much to offer, and it's always cruises in January, February, and March. So the only area in really, truly in the world we don't really hit is the Galapagos Islands. But we take you from Lima after we've done around South America over to Pitcairn Island, and we take you to Easter Island, and we head on our way to Tahiti. So there's lots of cruises there, but there's a lot of different kinds of cruises within South America, whether you're coming from Miami down to Rio, or Rio to Buenos Aires, or Buenos Aires around the Horn like this, cruise in December of 25, or maybe you don't want to do the Antarctic, you just want to do the Horn. We have sailings like that. So we also have this sailing that does the Antarctic Peninsula. My son Ethan is an expedition guide for a couple of companies and he's been at it for many, many years. And he's very, very interested in the Antarctic and the development of, ecotourism down there. But I was telling him that, we had this sailing going into the Antarctic, but we don't have Zodiacs. We're a bigger ship than the expedition ships, but we're still small. But I was saying to him, do you think our guests are going to have the best time? He goes, all the places you're going, all the different bays like Half Moon Peninsula, all these places are going to be fantastic. And because you have expedition guides on board the ship lecturing about them, it's going to be great. And I've been on expedition ships, which I love as well. But I have to say that there were guests while I was on those expedition ships who didn't want to get in Zodiac. So this is a perfect opportunity that you may look and say, well, I want the adventure. I just don't need to go in a Zodiac to get it. This might be an Oceania cruise waiting for you. We also do the Amazon, which is pretty amazing. And so South America becomes a really big highlight for us. And as I first pointed out, we take these cruises from Lima up through Ecuador, over through the canal and up into North America, into Miami and New York. So if there's something of interest to you, please talk to your direct advisor. They would love to help you. And we've got a private sale on right now, which I'm going to tell you. And then Africa has always been a real intrigue for many of our guests. We've always been very famous with our 30-day cruises from Singapore to Cape Town, or we take you all through kind of this beautiful area going on safaris and everything. Well, now what we've done is we've added a new itinerary from not only just round trip Cape Town or Singapore to Cape Town, but we come from Cape Town all the way up to Barcelona. And this is in 2025. So we start in Cape Town again. We fly you to Cape Town. You don't have to take our air, by the way. Your agent will be able to arrange air on your own if you can just knock that right out of your cruise fare. But with us, we include your air. So here we kind of fly you into Cape Town, then we come up to Namibia. Right here on the right, you can see the pictures of the sand dunes and beautiful safaris that we offer there. And then we come all the way up the West Coast, and we're taking you into Agadir and Dakar and Tristan da Cunha, and then we all the way up into Barcelona. This is one of my very favorite cruises of next year. I think it's going to be a really big sellout. So if you're interested in that, let us know. And because we spend so much time in Europe, I thought I would just really quickly highlight one of our cruises. Canadians always ask us, gee, I love, in fact, North Americans do. They always want Greece, Italy, and France. They never ask for Spain. And it's one of the most beautiful countries within the Mediterranean. And what I love about Spain is these beautiful old ancient cities with open markets and tapas bars and everyone dancing in the street. And it's absolutely fantastic. It's such history, Christopher Columbus and everything like that. So I want to show you this sailing because this is September this year, but we do this once or twice a year, this one itinerary. So again, we start in London and we cruise around with the Marina, our ship that holds 1,200 guests, all the way into Bordeaux and into La Coruña in Spain, which is a heritage site there, and coming all the way around into Portugal and over to Barcelona. And this is what I thought I'd show you. So, if you're coming into London, for instance, I would always come in 2 days early, start your cruise, and just have a beautiful tour around London, stay in a great hotel there. And as we cruise down, we come into Bordeaux, the home of the Margaux, Chateau Margaux and Rothschild and everything like that. And with Oceania, because we include these shuttles in and out of the cities, here we come right up to the gates. We dock right here. You can take a picnic off the ship and go sit anywhere you want, or you can just go out to have a cafe, or you can do a walking tour, a bicycle tour. You can go into some of these beautiful chateaus with our culinary adventures and go in there. We have lots of different kinds of shore excursions for you. And shore excursions since the pandemic have changed so much for everybody now, is that they're smaller and they're more detailed and they're kind of, a bit more intimate. So I love it. But you come into Bordeaux and we're always overnighting there. And this is where I say that, whether our chef takes you into some markets there, or you might want to go in and sit in a chateau and have a beautiful lunch and then have a cooking class with our chef. That's all up to you. And then, of course, as you're in Spain, you're going through the whole Basque country, and it's just beautiful as you cruise by and you do some of your shore excursions. One of the coolest things about coming into, either Seville or Bilbao. With Bilbao, you have about an hour and a half drive into Seville, but we have cruises that start in Seville, right in the river. In fact, yesterday, we actually sailed with one of our beautiful ships, the Sirena, one of the little ships of 680 guests, and we came right up the river into the city. So you could walk back and forth from the city to see the ship, and very few ships come into the river in Seville. So these are the kinds of cities that you're seeing. And of course, just amazing excursions. Whether you're in Seville, we take you on this cruise into Campistello, and we can do part of the El Camino Trail. So you can hike the old St. James Trail, which is a 4-hour hike, and it's part of the El Camino Trail, and it's kind of cool with maybe 16 other guests on the ship. And then we come into Lisbon, we come into Valencia, which is one of the most beautiful areas after we've left Portugal, come back into Valencia, which is all open markets and beautiful city, very safe to walk around. And we're in port and having these gorgeous port wines and everything like that. So there's something for everybody. And as I zip around the world, I would be remiss to not talk about our Around the World cruise. And this next year in 2026, actually 2 years from now, it's going to be on board our Oceania Vista, which is our brand new ship that came out a year ago. So it's really beautiful, 1,200 guests, over 10 restaurants, absolutely amazing. This is a ship I just came off 2 weeks ago with a group and had the time of our lives. It's really, really the kind of essence of Oceania at its best. It's taken all of the 23 years of our history and moved it into one ship. And her sister ship, Allure, comes out next July. So this just gives you a quick idea of 180 days and what it's like. So if you have 6 months, we'd love to have you as a guest on board the ship. So, that's just kind of some of the few highlights of the itineraries that I wanted to show you. But I think when it comes to Oceania, the experiential side of the travel is amazing. I was talking about that we do have entertainment at night. They're beautiful shows every night at 9:30. But what we really excel at is our enrichment, our series. And we actually have these incredible lecturers who come on our board our ship on every sailing, and they teach you things about what's going on in that area. So for instance, in the Antarctic, I was telling you, we have 4 different guides there. We have beautiful photography lessons and lectures there that we take you even off on shore excursions to teach you how to do videos and selfies that really enhance some of your trips. So it's wonderful. And again, whether you're looking to do a shore excursion with a few people or a number of people, we've got so many choices for you. For instance, on our Go Local tours, these are immersive tours into each city. So these are walking tours. These are bicycle tours, maybe with 8 guests from the ship. And then you stop for coffee, you stop for lunch, and you ride your bicycle again. And they're wonderful. Or just walking tours or foodie tours or whatever it is. Going into people's homes is always a big sellout. Wherever we go, we try and have tours that take you into people's homes. If you're an architect freak and you want to go in behind the scenes, then we have our series called Beyond Blueprints. So this is where we take you in the Guggenheim Museum or where we ever are in the world that you might want to go behind the scenes in these museums and see about the architecture of some of these great cities and buildings. Then, of course, we've got things like our culinary tours. We've got our green tours. So if you want to see wind turbines or anything like that, these are things. There's always in every city a list of maybe 20 different kinds of shore excursions you can do. And with Oceania, part of our Simply More offer, not only have you got your wine and beer and champagne at lunch and dinner, but you also have a credit to use for your shore excursions, and that's wonderful. So if you're a person that says, gee, I don't want to do any shore excursions, I'm kind of one of those people that don't like being with a lot of people, then you can have a private car and driver, and that you can use your shore excursion credit with too. So it's really, really a beautiful experience on Oceania. We're a cruise line that is not forcing you to do anything in crowds. When we come into a city where we have to anchor, this might be a city, I don't know, like Taormina in Italy. We anchor out, we drop our tenders. And so we wait for maybe 10, 15 people. If there's no one else coming, off we go and we take you into the city. So we're not filling up our tenders till they're full and then going in. We are running every 15, 20 minutes going in on the tenders and out to these cities. And then the great thing about being able to go in a private car and driver, it's great. But did you know that in each city we go into, we try and have a local expert come on board the ship, what we call our hotel, and they sit in the lobby and you can walk up to them and say, gee, I'm not doing a shore excursion today. What can I do here in Izmir, Turkey? What can I do that is on my own? I just want to go explore. So we have all that kind of stuff available to you. And that's what I love about Oceania. If there's a restaurant you've read about, or there's a golf game you want to play or anything like that, that's up to you. So then finally, as we start to wrap up here, I do want to tell you a couple of things because it's all about the value. When I see guests who come on board the ship, they always say to me, boy, that was the best price I've ever paid for Oceania. When we launch any itineraries, the best price is up at the very front. And Oceania started this trend in the industry many years ago, saying that as the sailing got closer and closer and closer to sailing, we would increase the price of the sailing. So now when I look at Oceania and I think, gee, there's so many beautiful sails on right now with us because we have 2 new ships, as you know, the Vista and the Allura. So it causes a little bit of disruption in the other ships. Everyone wants the shiny new toy. So we get a chance to have a sail. And that's what you're going to hear about now. But every single cruise, no matter what, also has this in it. So even if we put a cruise on sale, everyone, we always have Simply More included. That means that you've got your air, your cruise, your taxes, your transfers, you've got your shore excursion credits, you've got your champagne, wine, and more, you've got your Wi-Fi, you've got free laundrettes on the ship, we've got our specialty dining we don't charge for. All these kind of things is really amazing. So direct travel is such a huge partner of ours. They are amazing at selling. They're some of the most senior, and I don't mean age-wise, but tenure-wise in the business. They're some of the most senior people that you have. So they're able to kind of match you to the right cruise experience or the right land program or whatever it is that you're asking for. But one of the things that we do, being part of the Virtuoso family with Direct, is that we offer some probably almost 100 sailings out of 190 sailings prepaid gratuities, or a short excursion with a host. So you'll always have on most sailings a host from Virtuoso there, and direct travel feeds into these beautiful experiences. So ask your direct advisor, what is the best thing for me? This is, a lot of us take for granted that gratuities should be just part of it, but they're not part of Oceania. They're an exclusive that comes with certain sailings of ours. So talk to your agent, talk to your advisor. This is something that is a huge added benefit for you all, and they average probably around a $450 to $600 gratuity value. And then with our sailings, we also every so often have a sale. So this month in June, from June 1st all the way to June 30th, is we are partnered with Direct Travel as our true partners, and we put an exclusive sale with them to you. And this is why we're doing this event tonight, so we can tell you about it. But this is a 5% savings on all published voyages. And depending on how much your cruise is, it's 5% off that fare. So it's a really, really good thing, because we really rarely drop our prices. So this is a really cool thing. So talk to your advisor about that. We also have with it another 4-category upgrade on over 66 sailings right now until June 30th. This is a beautiful way of seeing Oceania. Maybe you've been on big premium lines before, other luxury lines, and this is a chance to go from outside to perhaps a veranda, or an inside to an outside, or a veranda up to a penthouse, depending on what sailing it is. There's over 66 sailings all the way through into 2025 that you can look at. And we give you a $200 shipboard credit per booking. Now, this is not combinable with the 5% savings. 5% is on all other sailings, but these 66 sailings that we have right now in the upgrade sale are also with the $200 shipboard credit. So again, depending on what you choose, what you're in the mood for, what's best for you, this is the way to go. And finally, what I do want to say, because I do want to have a moment to answer your questions, I remember many, many years ago at Princess Cruises, when I first started with the Love Boat, I had this glorious boss. His name was Mark, and I knew him right up till he was 90, and he passed away a number of years ago. But I remember going to him one day and saying, my son Ethan's in university, and what's he going to do when he graduates, and what's he going to take then? And he said to me, Kathy, I want you to go home, and I want you to pull out a whole tape measure out to 90 inches. And that's your life. And that's my life. I'm here at 90 inches, and I'm not going any further than this. And he said, but Ethan's down here at 20 years old. Who cares about him? He'll figure it out. What I'm worried about is you. You're at 60. And what are you going to do with this much of your calendar left? This much of your tape measure? What are you going to do? Where do you want to go? And I always say to guests, if there is an itinerary that you look at and you like, book it. You can always cancel. If you are interested in going to an area that you've never been to, book it, because these are small ships. This isn't a sales pitch. This is just giving you facts that these are small ships, and they're not 6,000 people. We don't have a lot of staterooms on each of our ships. So if you see something and you like it, book it. And all these things. And by the way, if we ever put that sailing on sale, you will always be guaranteed the best price for it. So I just want you to say that, there's so many times where someone will say, oh, I don't know if I should do it now. Maybe I should wait and see if it ever goes on sale and all that kind of stuff. Don't wait. You always have the guarantee from Oceania, and this is why we're true partners with Vision and Direct Travel. They know our product inside out. They will protect you and fight for you. These guys phone us every day and say, I've got a client. Can you help us? Add extras in. So, with that, I'll let you go. But I do want to say, come and join our Oceania family. It's small, it's intimate, it's elegant. It is just the most, I think, comfortable cruise line out there. And I've sailed on every cruise line there is. And I'm not just saying that to tell you I've sailed on every cruise line. I'm saying it because I love all the cruise lines. And after 48 years of being in this industry, whether it's big or small, we're also different. When I started, there was no such thing as river cruising. So, all these new things are coming into effect, and all about what you're in the mood for. But if you're in the mood for just a bit quieter, not any crowds, great food, amazing education, a little bit of entertainment, and beautiful quietness, just seeing very important intensive itineraries, Oceania is your next family. So thank you so much. And I'm going to give you over to Nathan or Janine to be able to ask questions if there are any. Otherwise, I just want to thank you all for coming, and I do hope you make your booking before June 30th.
Awesome. Thank you, Kathy. That was spectacular. You are a pro's pro.
Oh,
Um, that
I
was
talk a
special.
lot. Chatty Cathy. Thanks, Nathan.
Um, as Kathy said, we will move into the question and answer session. So if anyone has any questions, you can type them into the chat below, and Kathy, we can fire them over to Kathy. But as she said, we invite you to come over to the Oceania family and experience the beauty and elegance of their cruises. So make sure you contact your advisor today to learn more and to book your next unforgettable journey with Oceania. Once again, thank you for your time. Open the floor to questions if we have any. Um, oh, it says the chat is disabled. So
Oh,
Janine, do you want to open up the chat in case we do have any questions?
I can't see any here.
I will answer.
Maybe I talked too much, Nathan. Maybe I chatted
Yeah,
too much. So,
it's okay. There is one question. There will be a replay. We will have that linked on our, I believe, our YouTube channel. So we will be able to. There's a couple of people who joined late, so there will be a replay, and we will have that for you sometime tomorrow. Let's see. Kathy, this one's for you. How do we find out which cruise itineraries are included in the 5% savings versus other
oh,
perks?
yeah. So, what I'll do, Nathan, and I'll make sure Carol and everybody have this at Direct Travel is, and all the advisors already do have this, so they can help you navigate through whatever sailing you want. But it's on that 5% is on all published sailings except those upgrade sales, and I will make sure the upgrade sailings are distributed immediately to you guys, Nathan. And but yeah, it's a really good deal, everybody. And of course, you've got your Simply More in everything you do. So great question, but we'll make sure that we get that information to everybody who was on the call tonight.
Awesome. So I think because we are a little over time, we will wrap up questions for now. That doesn't mean that if you do have questions, we won't answer them. So if you have questions, just email us and we will get those answered in short order individually. We're just being mindful of Kathy's time and respectful of her time as well as yours. So that should do it for today's program. Again, thank you guys all
And
for tuning
thank
in.
you
And
all
Kathy,
so much. Yeah.
that was remarkable. You know,
Oh,
she you can tell she's been doing it for a while.
oh, I still love
So
it. And it's funny, Nathan. Again, like I've been with Oceania for 15 years, and this truly was when I started everybody with Oceania, it was something I never thought I'd ever change a cruise line, but they were doing things in my age group that I loved. I didn't need all the big entertainment. I didn't need everything included. I wanted to do things that were important to traveling and just to be on these ships. People truly love Oceania when they come off the ships. There are just such a beautiful array of itineraries for you. Come and have a look at it. Just go online, have a good look. Don't book anything directly. We're never going to take care of you that way as much as a direct. That's a question, Nathan, that I get all the time is should I book directly with Oceania or should I book with an agent? And I always go, this is where, direct comes in. They have the prepaid gratuities. They have the 5%. They have the $200 shipboard credits. They have stuff that we will never offer you. So make sure you work with your agent. And the one thing during the pandemic when people didn't work with travel agents is that they said, when they got stuck, they had no one to call. And with this, you have a one-stop call to your advisor. And I can tell you, after working so many years with direct travel, it's just a wonderful, wonderful crowd. And, I'm talking as Canadian here, but I know there's a lot of people from the States as well. And I've worked in the States for many years. So I don't mean to just single Canadians out, but the airfares, everything like that is all similar in the US. So please, whatever you need, please come and join our family. I know you're going to love it.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Not at
So
all.
much, Kathy. We appreciate your time and thanks for everyone for tuning in.
Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Janine. Thanks, everybody.